we believe we can win it now. We believe we've got a great boat.
We don't believe this is over until we win one more race.
Oh, we've got one hell of a fight on our hands here and a big challenge.
It's a battle. You know, you have to fight incredibly hard for every point.
We love a challenge. We've certainly got what we wish for.
If we sail as well as we should, then we'll win a race.
The war for the America's Cup is being fought off the water as well as on. For the past 3 days, Oracle Team USA have thwarted Emirates Team New Zealand's quest to win sailing's ultimate prize. True to their word, Oracle Team USA are refusing to quit in their bid to hold on to the America's Cup. With the Kiwis on match point, every race is crucial for the U.S. defender. After another win yesterday, the Americans' dream is still alive. The score now 8-2. But just one more victory to the Kiwis, and it's game over. The showdown continues. It's New Zealand versus the States for the 34th America's Cup. San Francisco, California, the host city for the 34th America's Cup, as the fog continues to roll in from the Pacific, partially covering the Golden Gate Bridge. Alongside Gary Jobson and Ken Reed, I am Todd Harris. Glad to have you with us on what could be the final day. Day number 10, and we are scheduled for race 13, and if necessary, race number 14. Ken, we all know the story, the Americans in a do-or-die situation.
Well, Emirates Team New Zealand has been ahead in 2 races that have been canceled because of excessive wind strengths. Off the line in race 12 and halfway up the beat of the canceled race 9. It's safe to say that Team New Zealand has not had great luck with regard to the wind gods. But Oracle's predicament seems to be a bit more self-inflicted. They were not prepared for the upwind speed and agility of the Kiwis early in this event, but they're coming on fast and furious. Is it too little too late, or the comeback of the century?
So the Kiwis sitting on 8 victories, needing only 1 to wrap up the Cup. The Americans on 2, needing to win out to retain the Cup. Ken Reed takes us through the starting line as we start off with the Kiwis.
Emirates Team New Zealand has built a culture within their program since 1995 that a sailor-driven team can win out over a group of smart and talented individuals. And this team is absolutely no different. I really applaud the fact that General Manager Grant Dalton has rotated himself out of the lineup in place of a rested Winston McFarlane. Not easy in an ego-driven sport like sailing. Daltz must desperately want to be on board if and when they cross the line victoriously, but has chosen to do what he thinks is best for the team. A true Kiwi approach to a team sport.
As the Kiwis left the dockout show, showing no sign of emotion on their face, knowing exactly the mission at hand, and Dean Barker fully aware of just how dangerous the Americans still are.
No question that the Oracle guys are going a lot better than they were 2 weeks ago when we started this event, and you know, they've made some good gains. But we think it's it's pretty even between the boats, and I think the boats sort of have their areas where they're strong and maybe areas where they're a little bit weaker, and it's a case of trying to play to your strengths and try and minimise the weakness.
And your starting lineup for the defenders, Oracle Team USA.
What is surprising to me is the fact that Oracle Team USA chose not to use their deep bench for this Cup campaign and instead has gone with essentially the same crew race after race. One clear advantage Oracle had is the fact that they raced 2 boats at a time warming up for this event and developed 2 very strong sailing teams with depth at each position. But what has been the deciding factor for Oracle is the fact that they are tweaking each person's role on board daily and don't want to take the chance of leaving a new crew member behind in a tight spot. They're betting that technical crew work detail wins out over general fatigue at this stage of the game.
And with weather looking good today, it's an opportunity for the Americans to possibly pick up 2 more points. Jimmy Spittle will not look that far ahead. The message to his crew is very simple.
Oh, look, we've just got this never give up attitude. You know, the boys are very, very hungry. I mean, the fact that we're at match point has almost excited the team. You know, they love a challenge, and we've certainly got that. But we're confident in our boat now. We've made some great changes. The boat's running well, and, you know, we believe we can win this.
For 2 days running this week, the second race has been postponed due to the wind exceeding the set limit agreed by the teams before the regatta. This is understandably frustrating for fans.
Sorry guys, we've hit the wind limit, so that is the end of play for the day.
And it's beginning to become a subject of debate in the post-match press conferences.
With the wind limits, we actually, sent a letter to the Kiwis saying, listen, we'd accept raising the wind limits.
It just seems a little bit strange that, halfway through a series that you think that you need to now change a wind limit that has been agreed.
As regatta director, Ian Murray calls the shots. Following Oracle Team USA's capsize last October, then Artemis Racing's catastrophic capsize in May, Murray insisted on vastly improved safety measures, which included mutually agreed wind limits.
Someone had to sit down and review what we were doing at that time. The fact that we'd had a loss of life, and had to work with the authorities here, had to work with the competitors and come up with a set of rules and guidelines that everyone would allow this competition to go forward. And as time has gone on, the competition has come alive, the crews have learned how to sail these boats, the systems on the boats have evolved, and I always thought the crews would grow into these boats and become accustomed to it, but we've probably underestimated that, and hence, I think everyone would be prepared probably to go another 1 or 2 knots if we could get agreement, but that's unlikely, and the competition's halfway over, so we're in the situation we're in.
And that's the reason for the race postponements. The wind limit remains at 23 knots, minus a tidal factor. This is sailing. The boats are on the edge, and Mother Nature will always have the upper hand.
After what happened to Artemis, it was necessary, I think, and these things really fly, and split-second decisions like what you saw the other day in race 9.
I'm disappointed, but look, at the end of the day, I want the sailors to be safe and come back, and after the Artemis tragedy, it's just not fair to put the fans and the media above the safety of the sailors.
We'll be back here tomorrow.
We'll be back here tomorrow, yeah.
The important thing is that safety has prevailed. We haven't had an accident since May the 9th, and no one's been hurt. And this close to the end of the competition, that's something that we're really looking to preserve.
And there is a live shot of the course here in San Francisco on day number 10 as we get ready for race number 13. And the fog continues to roll in as we take a look at the standings. The Kiwis have won 8 races, the Americans 4, but they were docked the 2 points. So it's 8-2. The Kiwis needing just 1 victory to take away the cup. The Americans must win out, winning 7 straight, beginning with today. Out on the water is our intrepid Gary Jobson, the 3rd member of our broadcast team, to bring us up to date on what is happening and what Mother Nature might deliver. Gary.
Well, Todd, it's going to be a day of contrast. Flooding right now, light wind, code zeros, the Jenniker we'll see for the first time in this regatta. But look for them on leg 3 to sail along the shore. The ebb will start, and that'll be the best way to go. Hey, by the way, a group of about 500 people met in Newport, Rhode Island today to remember Ted Hood, the legendary skipper that won the America's Cup in '74. His sails won 7 America's Cups. Anyway, he was a great man, an important guy in the America's Cup, and we'll certainly miss him.
Here, here. Thank you very much, Gary. More from you throughout the day as we take a look once again, Ken, at the tide. And this is something we haven't seen in a few days. It is actually a flood tide.
Well, it's obviously that, like Gary just reported, that little bit of ebb on the shoreline, but the breeze today is in incredible contrast to what we have seen. This is not San Francisco Bay as we know it today. This is the last game of the World Series, and it's snowing out. It's just something that hasn't been seen. It's really an interesting set of circumstances. The breeze is far to the left, really off the beach, more than we've ever seen. We're going to have big sails up today, and crew handling is going to be crucial because these guys have not been practicing with these big sails. So it's really, this is quite a turn of events, and we haven't even started yet.
One thing we know for certain, the course remains the same, but it will look different. Look at this map, Ken, quickly. Where's the sweet spot going to be?
Well, like Gary said, these left-hand shifts coming off the beach are going to be quite different today, and they can't really skew the actual race course directly upwind, downwind. there's going to be a very favored tack to the next mark almost every single leg.
So the adjustments have been made by both teams, and there they are. Emirates Team New Zealand on the left, 1 win away from taking the America's Cup, and their skipper, Dean Barker, and helmsman on the right-hand side, just stepping out of the picture, is Jimmy Spithill, the man that'll be the helmsman for Oracle Team USA, the defenders of the America's Cup. Tom Slingsby there looking around, trying to figure out what in the world has Mother Nature given them today.
Exactly. They'll have what they call light air packages. They'll have light air foils on board the boat. They will clearly have altered their boat for this condition. But just, I think the big thing to look for today is that the crews have not practiced in these conditions at all recently. It's been very consistent San Francisco Bay conditions, and this is just different.
We've got you covered on every angle as we take you on board Emirates Team New Zealand. Looking to get the job done today, just one victory away from claiming the 34th America's Cup. And across the way, the defenders of the Cup. A lot more chatter on board with Jimmy Spithill and Ben Ainsley.
Todd, even things like time and distance are thrown off today. Really, these guys have since the beginning of their design process, they have catered a boat towards windy conditions. And here we are completely out of the boat and the cruise element. But remember, this is similar conditions to the very last race of the Louis Vuitton Cup when New Zealand crushed the Italians. They didn't seem to be fazed by it much.
30 seconds. How far, Giro? Yeah, I agree. Pretty much at it here. Full pace, full pace, full pace.
So the Kiwis will get port entry today as we go under 2:30 to the start of the race.
Guys, we postponed.
Race is postponed. Yeah.
Emirates Team New Zealand, copy.
Well, let's go right on board the committee boat with Gary Jobson. Gary, what can you tell us?
Well, there was some fog that rolled there right at the start. The race committee wasn't happy with the situation, so they've reset the clock.
Do you copy Emirates Team New Zealand? Yep, Emirates Team New Zealand, copy, postponed. Oracle Racing, do you copy? Oracle Racing, copy.
So what we're hearing on live line chatter is that postponement was due to a bad entry mark alignment. Ken Reed, go ahead and translate that.
Well, you see, this is a very different breeze direction today. Far to the left or off the shore front than what we've seen in the past. And it actually would have allowed for a dial up or a dial down in this case. The port tack boat, Team New Zealand could not have gotten across. Therefore, they want to stop and realign the entry buoys.
And one of the few opportunities, they are side by side, just having a bit of a chat in the fog.
6 minutes to start.
They're going to very quickly move these buoys around, though. And Gary, that's the reason why they stopped it, because of the entry?
They did. The outside buoy really was so far down that the starboard boat would have had a big advantage here. So I think John Craig, the principal race officer, made a good call. Let's just take an extra 5 minutes here. Hey, a lot is on the line. Let's get the course right. Good call.
Well, neither team seems too upset by it, and the good news is it wasn't because of high wind, so that's the positive. We will be in a bit of a holding pattern right now as the start is now pushed back to 1:20 Pacific time here in San Francisco, and it is coming up on 1:15 right now. And the weather is the strangest thing. Getting up early this morning, Ken, you're looking up on the hills, kind of where we're staying right now, and the fog is rolling in. It looks like it's more like November, December, but you come down on the water, America's Cup Park, it looks beautiful.
And then a jibe after that. We'd furl as soon as we cross, right?
Yeah, as soon as we can.
Yeah.
You think they're moving that much?
Yeah, they...
Looks like it's going off the water.
It's going off the water. Yeah.
Look at the flags in the committee boat.
So Ray Davies chatting with Dean Barker about possible tactics as the 5-minute flag is up and out, and both boats just barely moving as we go on board Oracle Team USA.
30 seconds. Yeah, or
almost you force him to jibe, and if he jibes quite early, you come up the windward side of him.
Yeah, exactly, and just separate up.
Potentially the last race of the America's Cup.
Yeah.
And these guys are talking brand new strategy minutes before the event. It's something that's totally unique to sailing.
We can go with them. We could even, like, just say we think we're too early and
we can
go with them and then go back. Because we'll be quicker through the whole thing.
Exactly. Yeah, we've just got to be ready. As soon as he goes, he can come straight back once he's passing the wind.
You just stay there. I'll manage wing sheet.
Pressure for us, but it still looks a pretty easy dial for him.
So we'll see how the tactics play out. You're looking at the man with a 10 on his helmet. That is the tactician for Emirates Team New Zealand, Ray Davies.
They think they're going to get dialed. And let's just talk. This is a word we haven't talked about, because we have this 10-second entry that the port tack boat or Emirates Team New Zealand has to get across. But they still think that that starting line, the entry box, is skewed enough. They're not going to get across. The 10 seconds isn't enough. So it's called a dial up or a dial down, Todd, where the starboard tack boat will start pinning the port tack boat right away, force them into a spot that they don't want to be in.
Gary Jobson, you've been in this position before, on the cusp of winning the America's Cup as a tactician. Whose strategy do you like better?
Well, I like the fact that James Spittle and his afterguard there are talking about being very aggressive and working through different scenarios depending on what New Zealand does. In contrast, Ray Davies seems to be taking a conservative approach here. I just wonder if the collective wisdom of Ben Ainsley and Tom Slingsby is stronger than a one-man approach with Ray Davies.
Still got us killing 5. Kill it. 30 seconds.
Well, I think the Kiwis, unfortunately for them, and this is bad luck, they are on the back foot here. They're coming in on port tack. That entry, 10-second entry, is not going to be to their benefit in this particular case if the other guys can get a piece of them. It's kind of bad luck, Gary, I think, versus really having a strategy. The starboard tack boat has a big advantage if they can't cross.
And not only that, look at this. We got a Jenniker being rolled out just as New Zealand comes in the starting line. Very interesting.
Got to try to get across that starboard tack boat however they possibly can. Looks to me like they might be able to at this stage, but we'll see.
Boys, got to try and cross. I think we'll get a chance of crossing this.
Oracle very late coming into the starting area.
He's got to play. No, I've got us across. Got us across. Favoured, only 45 seconds.
Oh, big cross, and we haven't even started the race yet.
We're on final here for us.
Yeah, we are 7 over at the moment.
Jimmy Spithill saying they're already on final. They're not even going to jibe and go with them at this stage. It's so light. They're already thinking about time and distance back to the starting line.
Where do you think we are on ley line, right?
With the flood current, the windward end of the line looks a little bit better to me, Kenny.
Out of the skies. Full plates out of the skies.
Dean Barker nervous right now that he's already late, Todd, and there's a minute to go before the start.
And this is something we have not seen for the entire 34th America's Cup, this light of air with fog.
I think he's staying up.
Yeah, just keep it.
Looking to windward, there's a good gust coming down that's going to get to the boats about 15 seconds after the start. Being windward is going to be advantageous.
We're racing on the box, Jimmy.
Time and distance in a condition that they haven't seen in months.
You are gaining Mark 1 right now.
Full speed, they notice.
Yeah,
copy, yeah, full speed the whole time.
Okay, no need to go too high. I don't think you're going to shut him out. Here we go, let's try and get it.
It's a very slow march to the line. 10 seconds to go here on day 10, race number 13.
Up on you now. Nice work, nice and smooth.
So race 13 is underway and is almost a dead heat. Ken, who do you give the advantage to?
Well, for sure to Oracle Team USA. Better time and distance. Team New Zealand was so concerned about getting across them and that initial dial, that port starboard, that they got themselves a little too far away from the line. A really tough, bad break for Emirates Team New Zealand, just having this light of air and having that port advantage.
We have a big left going on right now. Oracle taking advantage of their lure right away.
Wouldn't be surprised if we saw code 0 just to get back down to the mark here, Todd.
I don't know, slow him up here if you can. Give us time.
No, not quite. Keeping it wicked up here, boys.
It's a strange, slow march to mark number 1, and the Americans are just happy to push the Kiwis off course.
Todd, a match race has broken out in this boat speed contest between catamarans. You know, this is traditional real match racing that we've seen so far. Here we go. Code 0's out. They're not even to mark 1 yet.
Kenny, well played by both boats there. Dean Barker being patient, Spittle with the advantage, and they're close.
Ready for a top here? Go. Keep some margin here. Yeah, nice.
With a set up. Really, don't we? Not one yet. They're setting up. They're happy here, Dino. He's getting slow. He's setting up 10.
Really light air. Big holes. They're having a hard time even flying a hull at times, Todd.
Both boats going through a jibe and both having trouble getting that Jennifer across.
I mean, the irony of this. How many races have we been blown off because of too much wind, and here we are in a drifting contest, and they're not even making the mark. I think they'll get down to it, but Team New Zealand has to be careful here.
The flood current's going right to left on your screen, and it'll take them down to the buoy.
Coming into more pressure this way. Full brake forward. Yeah. We go straight, right? Yeah, for sure. Better pressure this way.
So the Americans officially hit mark number 1, and the Kiwis close behind, but both of them moving extremely slow, and it's a 10-second advantage to Oracle Team USA.
Just let it reconnect again.
These catamarans in this light condition, you'll see dramatic angle changes between the boat all the time. They're always trying to just build speed, use height, and build apparent wind over the wing and the big sails up front. This code 0 that we're referring to, we used to call it a spinnaker, Todd, but now it's called the code 0. It's essentially a big Genoa. That's how much apparent wind that these boats build. There is no such thing as a spinnaker anymore.
Keep in mind, we have a 40-minute time limit in this race. They've been racing for 3.5 minutes, so just something that we'll keep an eye on the clock.
Well, the question I'd have then, Ken and Gary, is if they're traveling this slow downwind, what's the upwind leg going to be like?
Well, it probably won't be a whole lot different because they'll build quite a bit of speed going upwind. They're just struggling to build that apparent wind downwind.
One thing that'll help them upwind is the ebb will start, and that'll bring them up toward the windward mark. The ebb will increase as the day goes on.
Real boat handling contest, completely different scenario as to what each crew member does on board when you're trying to jibe an additional sail. Any little mistake will be magnified on a day like today.
Nice pressure on our bow on 10. Almost hooking up around the bow. Here we go, yeah, here we go.
Boy, Team New Zealand is in a nice little spot here right now. You see that dark water right in front of them. They're going to get into it first and could possibly get right down over the top of Oracle.
Keep sailing your mark there.
Keep in mind, Ken, that ebb current along the shoreline will slow the boats down, and being in the middle is good, but right now New Zealand's about to capture Oracle's wind and take the lead.
Put pressure on our bow. Anyway, Lenny, we need to for protection, boundary protection anyway.
New Zealand needs to go one boat length forward to hit their wind.
But this best VMG here. This is really big right hand.
They're talking best VMG. They're just trying to soak as low as humanly possible right now. Low meaning as far downwind as they possibly can, and it's almost drifting. The irony right now, Gary, is if we've had so many races blown out because of too much wind, and now we're already talking about the limit, the time limit, not happening.
Yeah, Kenny, I'm not sure I like this strategy here by Oracle Team USA of sailing a low course. They're going very slow. We're right behind the boats, and I think it's costing them the lead.
Right now, as we take a look at Virtual Eye, the Americans still have a lead, but it is shrinking quickly. It is now down to less than 30 meters.
Okay, big wing now, big wing in this puff.
Watch this, though. Can they get across? I mean, they just stop in the middle of these. If all of a sudden Oracle gets a little puff and New Zealand can't get across, it's a port starboard situation. Angles are just so dramatic between the boats. They can't get to them. Team New Zealand gets ahead.
I'm compelled to bring this up again. Remember, there's a 40-minute time limit, and we've been racing now for just about 7 minutes.
As we listen in on Emirates Team New Zealand.
Yeah, all the way to Alcatraz.
And look at the boat speeds. 20 knots now for the Kiwis and the Americans as they go through a jibe, dropping down to 10 knots.
And Team New Zealand is a jibe ahead. They're one full jibe ahead. These guys are going to be parked for a little while here, trying to build speed.
Pressure is staying down here.
Start trimming on, guys, I think.
The difference is it's light, fluky condition. It's make or break sometimes.
Trying to get it going.
Just broke for Oracle right there, that's for sure.
Let's try and build it in. There's pressure coming on you in 5 here. Long way to go. Yeah, keep it going, guys. We'll build on you in 5-10 seconds.
And keep the board all the way forward, really.
Yeah.
Hey,
New Zealand's got 2 competitors here, Oracle Team USA and the time limit. It's going to become a factor.
There we go, guys.
Todd, it's a 500-meter lead, and about a minute and a half ago, they weren't crossing. That gives you an idea of what light, fluky conditions do to boats like this, do to any boat for that matter.
Starting to lift us.
Good pressure coming here.
Main thing is a nice hull flow jibe.
Yeah, copy, Razor.
It looks a lot better to the north, so looking this jibe. Happy to speed it up if you like before the jibe.
I'm pretty easy now, Razor, so...
Yeah.
Let's just keep it down one minute.
Yeah. Okay, copy.
30 seconds, boys.
All right, Ken, the big question is, what is Ray Davies seeing out there on the left-hand side, and what's he expressing over to Dean Barker?
He's doing his best Ray Davies impression, which means he's looking ahead and he's not looking behind and being defensive. He's on the attack, looking for the best breeze, and that's exactly what a good tactician should be doing in this case. Just keep looking ahead, keep trying to extend. You get defensive, you will lose.
And the question for Oracle Team USA is, what happened? They had the lead 2 minutes ago, and now they find themselves 380 meters behind the Kiwis. Was it a case of bad luck? They just didn't get the pressure at the right time.
Well, they jibed in unison with Emirates Team New Zealand twice. And in this fluky conditions, when you just go jibe for jibe with the other boat, if they get a tiniest little bit of breeze that you don't, we saw it, things can change in a heartbeat.
And I'd add to that discussion that sailing that low course was not good by Oracle Team USA. Sailing low artificially, let New Zealand get into breeze, and they escaped.
So for the past 9 days, we have seen a race with two rabbits out there just sprinting across the course, and today we've got two turtles doing battle.
30 seconds.
Turtle's still going 20 knots.
Get pressure for this. Right little pop here. Okay, 25.
Okay, Dina, I'm happy to go back. 30 seconds. Definitely lift when you go. Yep. 20. 10.
Badger, right.
Badger. 3.
Pressure is down for a bit here. We'll build on you in 10. You, Tommy? Yeah. He's light down there. Good pressure coming on is in 10.
It just takes forever to build these boats, build the speed. The reason why they're so fast in medium to heavy air is why they're so slow in light air trying to accelerate. They're almost pointing towards each other here at this stage.
All right, as we go on to Virtual Eye, Ken, talk us through the VMG and what they're trying to do, and more importantly, what the Americans need to do to close this gap.
Well, it's the difference. It's the speed and the angle to the wind. That is your combined VMG, or your speed towards the mark. And, 20 knots versus 13 knots. Obviously, big advantage to Team New Zealand at this stage, but the 13 knots also takes into account that they're not on the favored tack to the mark right now. They're heading away from the mark a little bit compared to Team New Zealand. Once they jibe, that'll start evening out quite a bit.
Animation courtesy of Virtual Eye. Now the clock watching continues here, but unlike the other day, it is not a countdown for postponement, Gary. It's a countdown if they can get this race done. It has to be completed in 40 minutes. How do we look?
Well, we've got 28 minutes to go on the timeline. It really is a big factor. If they can get around this leeward gate, they will have a little help from the ebb, but this race is very much at risk at this time.
And Gary, what is the protocol if they do not finish? If the Kiwis go on to win it, but they're outside of the 40 minutes, what happens?
Well, then the race is abandoned, and they simply will start again. So that's what the rule is, and that's what it is. It happened to us in the 1977 America's Cup. We were 4 boat lengths from the finish line and missed the time limit.
Happy early, Dino. Yeah, happy now. 10, steady pressure here. Steady by. Start early, Frank. Start early, Frank. Go. 3, 2, 1.
So the Kiwis trying to muscle it around in the light air, and it looks like, Ken, they are getting very close to mark number 2. As Gary pointed out, they should have a little more relief, a little more help from the current as they make their way back up towards mark number 3.
This is all about finding the wind. These guys have shown to be extremely proficient at it. Again, I just go back to that final race of the Louis Vuitton Cup. They just crushed the Italians that race in very similar conditions. I give Ray Davies high marks to begin with, but it seems like in this type of condition, he's all over it.
Ken, adding to the discussion, up here at the starting area where we are, and regardless, the wind is not building. It's not any stronger here than it is down by the gate.
Right now it is showing a peak of 12 knots, Gary, holding at 9.4 knots as Emirates Team New Zealand hits gate number 2 with a sizable lead over the Americans, needing just one more victory to claim the America's Cup. But right now, time is not on their side as they have to finish the course in 40 minutes or less.
They've been racing for 14 minutes.
The big myth is light air. It's easier to sail these boats. It's actually, you can make a very good case, it's harder because all of a sudden you're throwing this big code 0 up. Not only do you have to do all the same controls that you normally do in the boat, but you have to jibe this massive Genoa that you've just thrown up in front of everything else. So these guys have it tough no matter what the condition.
20 seconds. 20 seconds. Nice smooth jibe, 20 seconds. No problem, time-wise. Normal jibe. Got 10 seconds on the box now.
Yep, ready.
Okay, 5. Go button, go board. Let's go full trim on the 0, boys. Bang it in. Big 0, guys, missing a lot.
with the time limit a factor on the next leg, leg 3, look for Oracle to tack a lot to try and slow the race down. Every tack, they'll lose about 30 seconds.
They're just struggling getting that 0 in as quick as Team New Zealand did in those jives, Todd, and that's really costing them acceleration. Just valuable boat lengths every time they try to jive that big code 0.
Next time on, Tom. Stop popping. The house. Still.
At gate number 2, the lead has ballooned to 1 minute and 40+ seconds. The Americans looking for some magic on the upwind leg as the Kiwis have a massive lead.
Go jib if you can. Light on jib. Okay, go 1 minute this way. It's 0 sheet. Keep it going, guys. Try and keep back into this.
There is the scene, 515 meters between New Zealand and USA, and right now the battle is against the clock. Is there enough wind for the Kiwis to get through the course in 40 minutes or less? If not, as Gary Jobson reported, the race will be abandoned and they will start all over again. So a possible wind condition again affecting the racing, but this time not enough wind.
Feels like it's probably only about 40 seconds the other way, guys. 20.
And Ken, you talk a lot about during the start proceedings in the start box, time and distance. And right now, I've got to think that Ray Davies, Gene Barker are doing their best math right now and saying, what is the time and distance to get to the finish line and claim the cup?
Well, keep looking forward, keep being aggressive. Don't do what Gary just said. The clear thing that Oracle Team USA is going to do right now is try to slow this race down. Try to do something, try to keep splitting and slow the race down. These guys are going to have to make a tactical decision. Do they cover tightly, or they just keep trying to sprint towards the finish within that time limit?
In these wind conditions, 510 meters, is it a foregone conclusion the Americans can track down the Kiwis, or are they going to have to rely on the Kiwis trying to cover them or make a mistake?
It's so fleeky out there. We saw, I mean, literally in a minute and a half, this went from being behind to being hundreds of meters ahead. It could easily happen again. Although, Gary, it does look like it's filling a little bit more. At least our helicopter view shows maybe slightly more consistent breeze out there.
Yeah, Ken, you can see that helicopter shot, the darker patches on the water. That means more wind because the ripples on the water are closer together. So New Zealand just got to head for that darker water and hope the wind fills in. But it looks like it's doing it. They have a chance to make the time limit.
The dark patches in the water right there, just to the upper left of Team New Zealand. I'm surprised they tacked right there. Not only were they on top of the other boat, but they were on a long starboard tack. They must really think that the right-hand side of the race course is a big advantage at this stage, Gary.
Yeah, the wind is actually bent to the right when you look at that aerial there. They're looking for a starboard shift, and I think that's going to help them make a more direct course up to the windward mark.
Lads doing some serious work there on Emirates Team New Zealand.
Light air does not bring a reprieve, that's for sure.
With Alcatraz Island in the foreground, it's Emirates Team New Zealand trying to sail away and claim the 34th America's Cup. Their lead has come down to below 400 meters, but as Gary Jobson has been reporting down on the water, it is very light wind. And remember, there's a 40-minute time limit, so wind could play a factor yet again, but this time, not enough wind.
We're not yet halfway around the course, and we have 21 minutes to go on the time limit. They've been racing for 19 and a half.
Slightly fast.
Imagine if you're a fan of Emirates Team New Zealand, you'd want to be an ulcer doctor in New Zealand right now, because they've already had 2 races blown off that they were ahead in.
Right, because of too much wind.
Because of too much wind, and here they are playing with the time limit when they're way ahead in very light wind.
Right, lads. Oh, there we go. Nice and smooth turn. Going to be pretty soft here.
And how about this? The USA made up 150 yards or meters by those 2 extra tacks by New Zealand.
Well, you heard Ben Ainsley on leg number 1 saying, boys, a lot of time, and Tom Slingsby saying it's a long race, so they're being very patient right now. Slingsby there momentarily taking the wheel. Jimmy Speedo comes over.
This is a huge priority.
We've got to sort that liquid sheet out, right? Yeah. Okay. Building nicely this way. Try and keep a bit more heel, Kyle. Just be more forgiving. We can't afford those.
Is this a repair job going on right now, Kenny?
It's like they just might have a big knot in either their halyard. Probably, I saw that their code 0 was only part way down. It looks like they got a big snarl in the line there right now.
He continues.
Shannon Falcone up there working on that knot, trying to clear the line.
What's fondly in the sailing world called a Herbert. Did you know that?
A Herbert.
A Herbert.
I just want a bit flatter for you, Kyle.
Big knot in the line. And I can't explain to you why it's actually called a Herbert.
Spaghetti.
So just take this all away. Yeah, agreed. There's no breeze out there, top left.
I'm surprised he'll be tacking soon, I guess.
Nice work. 30 seconds to attack. 30 seconds, right?
Joe Spooner and Shannon Falcone doing the hard work up there, trying to clear the Herbert. And the lead has now grown up against 484 meters advantage New Zealand.
New Zealand has gone halfway around the course. They've been racing for 22 minutes. They have 18 minutes, so they have to sail faster than they did in the first half of the course. The silver lining, there's definitely a lot more wind here up at the windward gate.
So they're going to have to make up those 2 minutes that would put them over right now, Gary. And by your calculations, I'm going to put you on the line here. Look at your crystal ball. Can the Kiwis get it done?
If I were to guess right now, they'll make it by 1 minute if they get into this increasing pressure, which is only about a quarter mile ahead of where they are right now.
Just nervous moments on both teams for that matter.
No, speed building. I'll do the talking here for a bit. Speed building, that's fine.
So the Kiwis finding favorable wind and pressure. The question now is, can they get around the course in the time allotted as a nation awaits the Cup? And they've certainly found something on the left side of that course. Kenny, look at the lead beginning to grow.
Nice pressure. They're sailing into pressure. This is the advantage in light air conditions. If the breeze starts to build, it builds typically from upwind first. It comes at you. And if you're the boat ahead and it is on the fill, that's technically an advantage right out of the blocks.
And in addition, Kenny, the ebb current sweeping them toward the Golden Gate helps increase that apparent wind because they got about a knot advantage from the current.
So the pie warmers may not be playing big dividends today, but right now, Dean Barker and company have got themselves in a very favorable position. Remember, if they finish the course ahead of the Americans and get the win under 40 minutes, they will win the America's Cup. You are looking at the current situation right now. New Zealand clear and away from the Americans as they have found the win first, and the Americans are trailing, going slower. Right now, the Kiwis worry about completing this course in 40 minutes or less. If they can do that and stay ahead, the Cup is theirs, and what a way to make the entire nation New Zealand wait for the possibility of the 34th America's Cup coming their way.
Ray Davies just continually looking forward, he's attacking the wind. He's not necessarily attacking his opponent right now. The opponent is the clock.
Stay in this gear. Keep it going.
By my calculation, guys, right now, New Zealand's about 1 minute behind the time limit. In other words, they've got to speed up if they hope to get to the finish line in time.
Andrew, take the stage.
Can you imagine if they are within, let's say, 50 feet of the finish line and the whistle blows? All that work would go out the window.
Welcome to the 34th America's Cup, really. It's the age of the unpredictable at this stage.
So looking ahead, as you see the distance continuing to grow between Emirates Team New Zealand and the defenders Oracle Team USA, the Kiwis, as Gary pointed out, have the favorable current, which is starting to ebb up the left-hand side. That's water rushing out of the San Francisco Bay. Their problem, Ken, is time. Can they get around this course in 40 minutes?
They're definitely switching their tactics to playing that left-hand side of the track. These guys are trying to slow the race down. Maybe Oracle, maybe their strategy right now is head over to the right side of the course and try to drag the Kiwis there. They need the clock to work for them.
But do you think the Kiwis are even concerned about the Americans right now with a lead of more than 800 meters?
Well, if I were them, I would be doing exactly what they're doing. Keep looking ahead and put yourself in the position to get around the race course as fast as you possibly can. Don't fall for the tactics of slowing the race down that the guys behind might be throwing at you.
14 minutes left on the time limit, Ken.
Boy, I don't see it, Gary.
No, as time goes on, it's slipping away. But we're going to have another race today, that's for sure.
Just what these guys do not want to do right now. This will be if this happens, this will be 3 races that they've essentially had control of, that the wind in one form or another has taken away.
Derek's got it. Derek's got it. Nice and easy, Pete. Right hand on it. Thin chance of laying.
They don't want to hear it right now, though. There is one little fact here. They are sailing better, you know?
That's true. Yeah. I was going to say, Kenny, they're really going well, so forget whether they make the time limit or not. They're faster in light wind. Oracle, to get that heavy air advantage that we've seen the last couple of days, they give something away in this lighter stuff.
If we don't get to right, obviously left gate. Yeah. W2, Frank. I think we could get there. W2, Frank. You got the light? Round, yes. Round right.
I don't know if the Kiwi fans are out there waving their flag or trying to create a breeze.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing. Look at the change of angles on these boats. Just the tiniest puffs and lulls make such a big difference, and this is what they don't want right now. These guys need a straight run at these marks to try to make up for this, what the clock is going to do to them.
Inside 30, inside 20.
Good breeze filling in under the Golden Gate Bridge. This is going to help New Zealand.
And Gary, as you're looking at the Golden Gate Bridge and some of the telemetry on board the committee boat, what is the forecast for wind, let's say, in 45 minutes?
About 3 knots more, so we'll have more breeze this afternoon.
Happy puller deploy here.
The ebb current has started, so they're going to be fighting the current going downwind.
Yeah, happy puller here. Puller deploy, no deploy out of here. Puller deploy. Winding down, I think.
On my clock, New Zealand's 2 minutes behind on the time limit.
At gate number 3, it's Emirates Team New Zealand. Not so much concerned about Oracle Team USA, but more concerned about getting some kind of win to get them back down to the course and to the finish line. They are clearly well out in front of the Americans, and that is not a factor. The factor is they have to finish this race in 40 minutes or less, or it will be abandoned.
Essentially what they're doing here, Todd, is called this nice slow jibe set. Tacked around the mark, they didn't unfurl their Jenniker. Now they're on the long jibe for a while. They'll use that big code 0 as long as they possibly can. They just tried to save some maneuvers for the boys. Look how slow they come out of these things, though.
They have to go 4.5 miles in 11 minutes.
Right hand here, boys. Really nice hitting here. Yeah. I've got issues with their 0. They might not even have a 0 on this run. No, just painting the picture, mate. Changes our world too.
So the chess match continues here in San Francisco. Emirates Team New Zealand, one win away from taking away the America's Cup from the defenders, Oracle Team USA. They have the lead. Everything seems to be in their favor, except Mother Nature. The wind is just not there, and they have to complete the course in 40 minutes or less, or the race will be called off no matter where they are on the course.
Okay, anytime. Here we go, boys, tacking. And holding.
Well, if Emirates Team New Zealand is close to not finishing the course in 40 minutes, there's no way in the world Oracle Team USA is going to get there. Kenny, at some point, as they make the mark at gate number 3, do they just kind of lay up and say, this thing's going to get blown off, let's just save our energy?
You never know. You can't. These guys are competitors. They're going to keep going hard to the end. You never know what could possibly happen. Their code 0 could fall in the water. We saw that during the youth event. You just never know. So you keep pushing on and hope for the best.
2 minutes and 20 seconds is the advantage to Emirates Team New Zealand over the defenders, Oracle Team USA. And now they look for something magical on the downwind leg.
Keep going. Keep coming, guys. Keep coming. Got 500 bar.
I think you heard Ray Davies make this call that they must have damaged their code 0 in some way when they took it down, either that or the halyard, because it doesn't look like they're even flying a code 0 on Oracle at this stage.
Go board, Simran. You have to get the rest in the turn, okay? Just rake forward for him, Tommy.
Makes me wonder if they could get that problem fixed for the next race if we have another race, if the time limit doesn't work. 8.5 minutes for New Zealand to get to the finish line, which is just over 3 miles away.
Okay, Todd, you've been doing this for a while now. Now that you're a sailing expert, and I might add that you've been sailing once in your life, are they going to make it?
As the folks around the world will attest, I know very little about sailing, and I will go even further in saying I don't think they're going to make it.
Okay, there you have it.
367, so yeah, I'm happy to set up here.
The lead is more than 1,200 meters to Emirates Team New Zealand, one win away from taking the America's Cup. The problem is not necessarily where they are on the course. The problem is the wind that is pushing them down the course against the ebb tide. Will they make the 40-minute cutoff as everyone continues to do the math and try to figure out how fast they're going, how far they have to go, and doing a little bit of a count back? Well, Gary Jobson's probably got the fanciest wristwatch out there. Gary, what are your calculations telling you?
Well, on my fancy wristwatch, the calculations say that New Zealand's in a lot of trouble. They have approximately 7 minutes to go 2.5 miles to get to the finish. Very difficult in this light air.
So there is virtual eye, and there you see the distance, the red line representing Emirates Team New Zealand. As Gary has mentioned, you can see just how far they have to go. They're coming up at about the halfway point of leg number 4. And Kenny, I'll tell you, unless something big comes up, it just doesn't look like it's going to happen.
It doesn't. And we've been talking about regrouping in the face of either tragedy or, bad luck or whatever it may be. This is going to be a regroup on Emirates Team New Zealand like we have maybe never witnessed. They're sitting here looking at the America's Cup, sitting in their cockpit at this stage, and it's going to get taken away from them, but most likely by this time limit.
Yeah, I think so.
Nice move by Oracle Team USA to jibe and keep it in the center and try to get New Zealand to maneuver. Every maneuver cost them 30 seconds.
Down on the flags there, I imagine.
But as a newbie to the sport, Gary and Kenny, why would Emirates Team New Zealand even care what the Americans are doing right now?
I don't think they do. I think they are fully just, well, as he turns around, of course, but I think they are fully focused on closest tack to the mark. Keep it simple. Just keep heading towards the mark and hope like crazy that that little bumblebee there can make it around in the next, 5-6 minutes.
Well, in my calculation here, Kenny, they have about 4 minutes to get around the leeward gate if they have any hope of making the time limit.
Yeah, not a chance. But listen, I wonder if they know on board. That's the interesting part. They don't look like they know.
I'll tell you who does know. Ray Davies. He might not be saying anything. He knows.
3, 2,
We are now at 5 minutes until the cutoff, so a top of the hour local time here in San Francisco. If Emirates Team New Zealand is not across the line at 2 o'clock local time in San Francisco, this race will be abandoned.
And a horrible wind shift for New Zealand, taking them away from the mark. More bad luck, wind going down. It's looking dim.
I have to admit, I feel really bad for these guys. They have worked so hard. They have sailed such a good race. And, you know, sequence, just the way things work sometimes.
You know, Ken, you talked about Grant Dalton, the team leader, not being on board for this race. It's light air. He was off the boat. I wonder if he'll come back on board for the next race.
So to put this coming up in this, Dino, so we're actually not far off it. Okay.
Now the Kiwis trying to stay positive there.
30 seconds, you happy with that? Yep, happy to go. 30.
To put this in context, Kenny, this is like running the Indy 500 and getting to about lap, what, 450, 475, and going, sorry, boys, got to shut the track down.
498, you know, it's...
When that clock in the bottom right-hand side of your screen hits 40, the race will have to be completed. If not, we're in an abandoned situation. And if we get you an aerial view and show you just exactly where the Kiwis are on the course, you'll get an idea of what we're thinking about as we take a look at virtual eye. They've got a long way still to go.
Yeah, by my calculations, they'd have to be right about at the mark now.
At Mark 4.
Yeah, to do this. And they still got a little ways away. They've got to furl up that code 0. They got to put it away, make a jibe around the mark.
Got about 6 minutes to finish this thing.
You know, one thing they got to talk about is how to get a better start. Jimmy Spittle and Oracle Team USA has won 3 starts in a row decisively. New Zealand's got to do better if they want to get an early lead.
So I just heard Ray Davies say we got about 6 minutes to finish this thing. Gary?
He's off. He's off. He got 3.5 minutes.
He obviously doesn't have as nice a
2.5
timepiece as
minutes.
Gary.
2.5 minutes.
Very close to the time.
You hear him talking very close to the time limit, so they haven't really talked about it up until this stage. That's the one thing that's obvious.
Well, you hope the Kiwis get the information before they hit the line, because I would hate to see a premature celebration if they get there and the race has been called off. Meanwhile, Oracle Team USA has been dealing with their own problems. Looked like a snarled line out there. Shannon Falcone and Joe Spooner out there trying to clear the line. They are back in their cockpit positions, but right now they are just struggling and hoping that this race is abandoned.
Yeah, we were told that it was actually a sheet. They had to replace a sheet, cut and replace a sheet. So that's what took them a little long to get around that mark.
40 seconds.
Todd, it just shows that these guys are not used to sailing to these code 0s. Really, that's the bottom line. They haven't sailed in this condition in a long, long time.
30 seconds. Nice little puff here.
We are less than 90 seconds away from the time limit here. Day 10, race number 13 looks to be like it is headed for an abandoned situation.
Oh, you've got to feel for these Kiwis. I mean, they have sailed an amazingly good race here. Really, again, through no fault of their own, the wind gods are trying to take this away from them, you know? Good news is they're still up 8-2.
Under a minute to go, they have to round mark number 4, and then it's still quite a distance to the finish line, and they are nowhere near where they need to be.
New Zealand, I am very sorry this is happening to you, but boy, oh boy, tough break for these guys.
Definite jibe with the you're all right, Razor? Yep.
Less than 30 seconds now.
And whether Ray Davies knows, whether he knows that the time limit's out, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They've been sailing as fast around the race course as possible. They weren't going to make up 5 minutes.
So with 10 seconds to go, we will listen in and see if we hear the official word.
3, 2, driving.
This is race committee. Time limit has expired. This race has been abandoned. The race has been abandoned.
Deep breath, boys.
Frustration on the face of the Kiwis and wry smiles on the face of Oracle Team USA.
Get out of jail free card by Oracle Team USA.
Yeah, Team New Zealand copy, 32 minutes for the next one. Oracle Racing, you copy?
Yeah, Oracle Racing copies. Obviously, thanks for that.
Ben Higley, thanks for that. Well, Ken, we've seen just about everything. Near capsizes, too much wind, not enough wind. What will be in store for race number 14?
Just impossible to predict. I am speechless. It's hard for me to be speechless, and I can't feel worse for these guys.
And I think you touched on it perfectly. You have to feel for Emirates Team New Zealand. They have done everything asked of them. They have put themselves in the right position. They have been consistently the more quicker boat through the course. They've been faster in high winds and slow winds, and today the time limit gets them. Unbelievable. Let's send it down to the committee boat for the first-hand word. Gary Jobson is standing by with Regatta Director Ian Murray.
Ian, we've seen things like this in the past America's Cups, always disappointing. But more importantly, what's the prospects of getting a race in here this afternoon?
Look, I guess we're hopeful. We saw bits of 11 knots, and we also saw down to 7 knots in that race, and big wind changes from 210 to 260. And of course, the tactics at the start of the boats, luffing each other, and that slowed the race down quite a lot. So, the breeze is more. I think generally it's averaged up, and we've set another race that's about to go in 30 minutes.
Of course, the ebb current is going to be increasing here through the afternoon. Will that affect the ability to get around the course?
Well, clearly that speeds the speed upwind. It drags them up to the windward mark, and if they can get onto their foils downwind, we saw Oracle just on her foils a little bit in that last race. That'll speed up the downwind. It's the tacking angles is what's killing them, and the holes in the breeze. So, it's cleared. The fog's cleared a bit out to sea. Hopefully we can get a little bit more consistent breeze.
So they do have a period of time, I think 32 minutes between races. We have enough time to have the break and get a race in?
Yeah, you can. We're down to just rolled into 29 minutes before the start of the next race. So, now we start running up against the can't start later than 2:40 clock. So, lots of rules.
Well, I know everybody watching wants to get a race in, including these competitors. Ian, thanks for your time.
So that's the word from Ian Murray, Regatta Director, and you can see the frustration on his face as well. Yesterday, he was the bearer of bad news when the wind limit peaked, when they were in the start box, and Emirates Team New Zealand on the last leg of what would have been the winning performance here at the 34th America's Cup as a nation of more than 4 million collectively hold their breath and then exhale, trying to create a breeze here in San Francisco. Kenny, I think the point that was made that was very valid was, as Ian said, if Dean Barker and Emirates Team New Zealand had got a better start and they hadn't gotten left and pushed up by Oracle Team USA, you might be talking maybe picking up another 20, 30 seconds.
If. There's a lot of ifs going on in this series. They sailed better.
Yep.
And they just the rules did them in, really. Unfortunately, the rules did them in. The first part of this race was really slow.
Yep.
And Ian's right. If they had sped off, zipped off to that start, even in this breeze, I think they would have been okay.
Grant Dalton there.
Yeah, I was going to say, Todd, Grant Dalton's on the boat. Sorry to step on you there. But he's back on board, at least for in between races. We don't know if he'll step off for the next race.
Well, let's go back and take a look at it one more time. Do not adjust your screen, folks. This will look like it's in slow motion, but in fact, it is in full motion as we take a look again at race number 13, which has now been abandoned. Well, here's the start, and it looked promising, Ken. For the Kiwis, their big concern was getting across Oracle Team USA. They got that done, but Jimmy Spithill immediately flips and heads for the line.
Well, he picked it up early on. Spithill never even went towards these guys. He never jibed. He picked it up early on. You know what? We're almost in time and distance mode. Sure enough, they were. And Team New Zealand was a couple boat lengths behind, right out of the blocks.
And from here, it was a slow, and I mean slow, drag race to mark number 1. As they approached mark number 1, it was clear that Spithill was not going to play this straight.
Yeah, well, he tried to do exactly what you're supposed to do in a match racing situation. Nice little luff, get the other guys slow. But the overlap was broken here. Team New Zealand could unfurl their sails. Yeah, they slowed him down a tiny bit, but it really wasn't the big play that they were looking for.
And here it was at mark number 1. Oracle Team USA on the left, Emirates Team New Zealand on the right. Now in the second leg, here's where tactics really came into play, and this was the jibe that really paid dividends for the Kiwis.
Oracle wanted to go jibe for jibe. It's called matching, and Team New Zealand played the game with them and rolled over the top, and here was really the key part of the game. Could they jibe onto port tack and get across Oracle? They did, just. You see Oracle forcing it down, trying to get there and pin them back against the boundary, but it wouldn't happen. Literally, Team New Zealand sailed away from here. Nice little breeze right in front of them. You see that dark patch in the water, and gone. Absolutely gone.
And as the Kiwis pulled away, it was clear that this was going to be close with a 40-minute time limit. And at mark number 2, mathematic majors around the world started crunching the numbers. And our own Gary Jobson was the first to break it, saying, I don't think they're going to get there in time.
Yeah, but just great boat handling. Again, really solid job by tactician Ray Davies. Dean Barker was fully trusting of his tactician. You can always tell if the helmsman is looking around a lot because he doesn't quite trust the scenario, the scene that his tactician is painting him. But hey, no problem there. Ray Davies was solid as a rock.
Mark number 3, a good rounding by the Kiwis. There was forecast of wind building underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. You were seeing the dark spots out on the bay. And the Kiwis, Kenny, you said they sailed perfectly, did exactly what they had to do.
They did. They did a nice little jibe set here. They're using code 0 Jennikers in this stage, and then here we go. They blow it off after 4 minutes. Gary was up on that right out of the blocks. He thought that was going to be close, and they were probably 4 or 5 minutes away from actually finishing the race.
So race 13 is officially abandoned as we go on board Emirates Team New Zealand. Tactician Ray Davies. Ray, you did a masterful job out there. Mother Nature just was not cooperating.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame there, wasn't it? We're having a pretty good race all the way around there, and there's not enough breeze to do it within 40 minutes, so yeah, a bit of a shame.
Ray, how frustrating is it for you and the crew after having days being wasted away because of wind limits, and today it's not enough and a time limit is what does you in?
Today was probably, it was a bit of a shame really, to be pretty honest. The wind limit's the wind limit and the time limit's the time limit. We just got to deal with it and get on with the next one. But, we had a good race there. But, the positive thing is we're feeling like we're sailing pretty well in these conditions, and crew work's going really well.
Hey, Ray, good for you for having a little smile there right now. I think I'd be throwing things if I were you at this stage. Hey, when did you know that the time limit was potentially in play?
Sort of halfway down that last run, Dean mentioned the time limit, and sort of had a look at my watch at that point, and I think we had about 6 minutes to go, so it was pretty unlikely. So yeah, not till really, didn't even think about it till that last run. There's not much else we could have done around the track.
So Ray, you've lost 3 starts in a row here decisively. What are you guys going to do to get a better start here in this next race?
Yeah, let's work on the same things we've been working on and just work on that final timing. That was a pretty lightier start, and we just didn't accelerate as quick as we thought we would be able to out of that last manoeuvre. So just a little time on distance and sort of 5 knots of wind can be a bit tricky at times, but we needed the code 0 to cross in that start, and yeah, funky conditions. So you know, it comes and goes both ways, that. So we'll work on obviously what we learned in that last one and apply it to the next race.
Tough break for you guys, Ray. We'll let you get ready for the next race. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you. Ciao.
Ray Davies, the tactician, Emirates Team New Zealand, and Grant Dalton there in the pictures. Gary Jobson reported he is back on the boat for the next race, and guarantee they'll be making some kind of changes on there to try to get a little quicker to the first gate and then move their way down and hopefully get the race done in the 40-minute time limit. As we go on board now with Oracle Team USA, four-time Olympic gold medalist Ben Ainsley, the tactician for the Americans. Ben, I don't know if anyone was happy about the abandonment other than the boys on board Oracle Team USA.
Yeah, well, there's an old saying that it's better to be lucky than good, isn't there? I think that was the case in that race. You know, we had a really nice start. Jimmy did a great job, and we were covering down that first run, but they just did a slightly better job with the driving, enabled them to roll over us, and they seemed to have good pace down that first run. So we were obviously staring down the barrel of defeat there, but the time limit came into play.
Hey, Ben, what happened to the Code Zero? Why didn't it get back up on the second time around, that second downwind leg?
Yeah, we had a problem with the halyard and one of the sheets. So it certainly wasn't our cleanest race boat handling wise, so we just had a good discussion about it there, what we can clean up for this next race.
Hey, leave issue about all the crazy wind that we had in that race. How do you assess your boat speed versus Emirates Team New Zealand in this lighter wind, Ben?
Yeah, Gary, it's pretty hard to say with the breeze moving around so much as it is. I think we were going okay upwind. Downwind, we struggle a little bit with the driving, possibly might be down to sail choice. And straight line is hard to say again. So with this wind moving around as it is, you just got to keep open-minded and try and make the right moves and stay under pressure.
And Ben, as we let you go, what are you hearing from your forecasters as far as the wind goes over the next 30 to 40 minutes?
I haven't checked in with Juan yet, but right now it's moved back to the left. There's quite a big right shift there, you would have seen. And if it moves back to the left, then hopefully we can get a race off.
Ben, we appreciate your time. Best of luck to you in this next race.
Thanks, guys.
Ben Ainsley, tactician for Oracle Team USA, as they regroup now. Race number 13 officially abandoned as Emirates Team New Zealand was on the final leg, approaching the victory and the America's Cup when time ran out. The 40-minute time limit was dropped, and the Kiwis were forced to abandon, as well as Oracle Team USA. So they make their way back up towards the start box. As we reset for the second race of the day, we hope to have a complete race, and as Ben pointed out, the wind could be a little bit better. So we stay pat on the score, 8 wins to 4, 8 points to 2, with the Kiwis on match point, the Americans needing to win out. Beautiful day here in San Francisco if you like light wind, and hopefully the wind will pick up and we can see a little more competitive action here on the next go around.
Velocity made good, right. How to put that into layman's terms.
These AC-72 catamarans, they're powered by the wind, and the course is set so that the top mark and the bottom mark is directly in line with the wind. So obviously on a sailing boat you can't sail directly into the wind or directly away from the wind on these particular boats, so we need to sail angles. And basically a good VMG will get you from the bottom to the top in the shortest possible time, covering the shortest possible distance at the fastest possible speed.
You can go as fast as you like, but if you're not pointing at the desired direction, which is at the next mark of the course, it's not really doing you much good. So it's really the best speed you can make to the course. And sometimes that might be to sail really fast and lots of zigzagging, or it might be to sail slower but a more direct course.
VMG stands for Velocity Made Good. It's a simple calculation based on your speed through the water and your angle to the wind. Take a deep breath as former nuclear physicist and longtime Cup boffin Tom Schnackenberg explains the math.
One of the puzzles in getting the best performance out of the yacht is what angle to sail. I've got a component that's going straight downwind, now I've got a component that's going straight across the wind. And the combination is my real velocity across the water. I don't really care about going across the wind very much, but I really want to know how fast I'm going down the wind. The easiest way to calculate it is to take your boat speed and multiply by the cosine of the angle to the wind direction. That's how it's calculated, and anybody can do it on their hand calculator.
And exhale. If you didn't get that, don't worry. Here's what it means on the racetrack.
VMG upwind, for example, you can have either a low and fast VMG or velocity made good, where the boat will be travelling faster through the water but not as close to the mark as you would like to go. Or you can have a high VMG, which is you're pointing the boat very, very high to the top mark, but you're going very, very slowly.
He's slightly faster, slightly lower, VMG slightly to him.
He is vulnerable if we tack. He has to time it perfectly.
The juggle of getting the perfect VMG is having the trimming, the steering, the balance, and all the factors on the boat lined up perfectly so it achieves the shortest possible time to that top mark.
And that's, you know, the trick of the sailors. They have to work out on the course, you know, this trade-off between boat speed and angle to the mark.
People get VMG and then don't even explain why you want to sail it. Just say it's just something we want to know. Because it's how much bang we're getting for our buck.
Good VMG is effectively the holy grail of sailing, and certainly on these AC72 catamarans is definitely the number that we're all looking at.
Welcome back to America's Cup Park here in San Francisco as the 34th America's Cup continues and continues and continues. I'm Tucker Thompson, along with Ian Percy, the skipper and tactician of Artemis Racing, and Chris Draper, the helmsman from Luna Rossa Challenge. And you couldn't ever predict the way this America's Cup has unfolded. I mean, you couldn't put it into words, the way the drama, the suspense continues on. Is it ever going to end? How difficult is this for the Kiwis, Ian?
This is hilarious. Sorry, Kiwis. Look, I don't think it's too bad from they just sailed a great race. That's what they're going to be thinking about now. Ray's just done an exemplary job of the tactics. They've sailed very well. They've been caught out by a time limit. What will hurt is if the opposite happens in the next one and they're all going to be going to sleep tonight with what if. At the moment, I think they get their stuff together and they go out and do exactly the same again.
And Chris Draper, how lucky are you if you're Oracle Team USA?
Yeah, I mean, they've just got off ridiculously. I mean, personally, I'll stick my neck out and say I think it's a pretty ridiculous rule. You know, a 40-minute time limit is not very long, and that's pretty sad.
You've got some friends who agree with you here.
It is what it is, and those guys obviously knew it while they're sailing around. You could see Razor taking note of it and working as hard as possible to try and get around the course. But yeah, it's a get-out-of-jail-free card like you can't imagine.
Lucky, 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 lucky. Well, let's go back to the start. Actually, before the start, the two teams had a nervous moment kind of staring each other down here. This was before the start. It got pretty close. That was the Jenniker that Emirates Team New Zealand used when they entered. We're going to analyze the start in a minute, but
it's like getting really pumped up when you're not actually able to have a fight in this wind. You know, you're staring each other down and then you have to kind of have a bit of handbags 5 minutes later.
We used to have the saying when I sailed, hurry up and wait.
Yeah, these guys are much more scared about the wind at this point, particularly the tacticians. They know the races with Mother Nature.
Well, let's get into the start. Hey, give Jimmy Spithill a lot of credit. He's done it before. He's done everything he needed to do to put his team in a position for the win. Here we go, guys. Cross the line. Ian, you start.
Well, what I liked here was the discussion before the start by the three members of the afterguard. They knew it was going to be very light. They realized that it was no time for them to get the maneuvers in, and they executed that well. I like this too. They know the race is going to be wacky. They need to get a big jump to try and get safe. They tried that with the luff.
Yep. And Chris Draper, options here if you're New Zealand.
Yeah, I think, like Ian said, the other thing that this did for Oracle was it made it very hard for Team New Zealand to jibe on them on jibe one. And from like the AC World Series stuff, in this sort of wind speed, we so often see that the boat behind is able to jibe inside the boat ahead. And that did actually happen on the next jibe when the breeze rotated a little bit and Oracle were in a tough position, but I think Oracle did a great job there of opening it up in the early stages.
Oracle almost closed the door on Emirates Team New Zealand to get into the mark now. Now we go back and look at it on virtual. Fantastic graphics. Take us through it again here into the pre-start. Here's the entry, obviously sped up
Yeah, New Zealand trying to get them on, US trying to get the Kiwis on starboard. But the smart thing here is that Spithill realizes there's not time to make any maneuvers. He just turns straight here towards the start line. And it's almost from this moment the Kiwis were late. I heard Ben many times in the pre-start just saying on time in the box from here. What he's talking about is his computer simulation of the start is saying if you go full speed from here, you won't be early. And so they knew from very early on it was a race.
So into mark number 1. Oracle looks like they're comfortably ahead, but a smart and aggressive call by Jimmy Spithill, Chris, right here.
Yeah, like we said a minute ago, I mean, it made it very, very hard for Team New Zealand to be inside them for the next jibe, and it gets so light in on the shoreline there that Oracle really wanted to be able to lead out of that side, and that luff there really opened that up very nicely. But I think later on down this downwind, we started to see that Team New Zealand's jibes were quite superior to the Oracle ones.
So now let's move to the game changer of the match, or at least the race that didn't happen. Downwind, Emirates Team New Zealand gets a puff. Ian, you saw it.
Yeah, this was an interesting moment. The Kiwis doing a bit of an but they sped their way up here and effectively rolled over and took the wind of Oracle. Oracle rightly decided, well, let's just keep our bow down here and try and keep starboard advantage. That was the correct call for them. Unfortunately for Oracle, they seemed to have this picture in their head that they were going to get them after the jibe on starboard. And they, as so often the case for us tacticians, we really see the scenario unfolding in front of us as we want to see it, rather than as it actually is. We're optimistic like that. In the end, the Kiwis were able to build enough speed here on starboard to get the jump. I think it was fortunate when they went into the jibe, they got a little bit of a right-hand shift, which allowed them to pass. And then, as you can see here, very quickly, they opened up a huge lead. And that's the nature of these conditions. They were talking, the commentators were talking about it the whole way through. You get a puff, you can literally be doubling your VMG, as we're seeing here.
Chris, just talk us through real quick the VMG, who looks better?
Yeah, I mean, I think Team New Zealand were generally a lot better.
Sorry to wake you up there, buddy.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I was focusing on it, honest. But I think that Razor did a lovely job playing the pressure down here. I mean, it's surprising how many jibes they did, and he did a great job there.
They did, well, I'll tell you what, that great job was turned into great disappointment for the Kiwi team. Are we going to get another race in? Well, both of you guys told me you think yes. The fans here at America's Cup Park and you all around the world want to get a race in too. We hope that happens.
When you go from a hobby to a serious sport to international, where you're actually out there representing New Zealand, it's a very addictive step. You know, suddenly you're out there competing at the very top level, and you know, once you're bitten by the bug, it's very hard to go back. Match racing for me is just something that I really enjoy. It just seems well suited to my style of sailing, working with a team in close quarters, in short, sharp bursts. It's just something that really appeals to me, and I really enjoy that style of sailing. To win the cup here for me would be something incredibly satisfying and very special. And you know, we've passed all the hurdles that we need to, and now it's a team called Oracle.
First America's Cup experience was back in '99 for the 2000 Cup. It was a campaign called Young Australia 2000. It was an old boat. The average age was about 18 on board. No money, but we worked hard and we played hard. I loved every single minute of it, and so did every one of those guys on it. It was really, really tough. It was very hard work. And the team that we sort of became by the end of it, it was, I'll probably never experience that again on that level. Yeah, the America's Cup trophy is an obsession. I mean, there's no two ways about it. The reason I love it is because it's so tough and it's so hard to win. Personally, I love things that are difficult and hard, and I like getting taken outside my comfort zone. Man, in the America's Cup, you get all of that.
Back on the bay here in San Francisco, the wind holding at about 9.2 knots, but the forecast is for it to build as Larry Ellison looks on, wondering if this is the last day that he will have ownership of the America's Cup, or will it last one more day? The Kiwis on the cusp of taking it over as they are one win away from the 9 victories needed. Well, there's the weather right now, 12 knots. The tide, Ken, it's right now ebbing at 1.6 knots. What do you think?
Well, I really think that ebb tide is just going to be, it is what it is. We've gotten used to it. I think the sailors have gotten used to it. That left side of the race course is going to be, is certainly going to be favored upwind. Downwind, it shouldn't make a huge difference. As long as they can get up on their foils and really gain some apparent wind, create apparent wind, actually you can make a case that the ebb tide actually helps when you're going downwind. So, hey, it is what it is. It's just a little more breeze. We get inside that wind limit, and hopefully we actually have a real race this afternoon.
Gary Jobson, you're out on the water. You've been crunching the numbers. Do your best, Al Roker, and tell us what you think. Is it going to happen?
I love Al Roker. The wind's is good. It's going to happen. And by the way, this is a very real race. The America's Cup hangs in the balance, and these guys know it. I can't wait.
All right, right now the wind is picking up just slightly, up to 10.3 knots. As we look at it one more time, this is the tide, and it is a ebb tide, which means the water, as Ken has taught me over the last 2 months, is going out of the San Francisco Bay.
It is going out of the bay, and it's fairly even from side to side. No more of that little flood that we saw right at the end of, or right at the beginning of that last race. This is a little more even race course, a little better for both boats. They can go side to side, but it's all about finding puffs in this light air. Really, the current isn't going to be a huge issue at this stage. They're going to be trying to find the little zephyrs of wind on the water, and that's what we saw in the last race, makes or breaks these light air race courses.
Well, there are the numbers you need to know. It looked like there was a little bit of rain coming in from the Sausalito side of the Golden Gate Bridge as we go on board with Emirates Team New Zealand.
It's just amazing that a day like this can kind of crop up, kind of happen, come out of nowhere, and really just change everything you've been working, not for weeks or months, but for years on. So it's just such a different strategy.
And just to reset the numbers as we get a look on board Oracle Team USA, this is day 10. This will be race 13. So the race 13 that we saw, just forget all about that. That never happened. It was abandoned. The time limit was reached as the Kiwis made the turn home for the America's Cup, and the whistle was blown. So again, this will be race 13, which also means that Emirates Team New Zealand, Ken, will get port entry yet again.
I've kind of lost track of the port entry and starboard entry, to be honest. We just want to race. I think we just want to race, and I know the Kiwis want to race, that's for sure. I give them such high marks for keeping composure there. It would have been really, really easy just to get angry.
So we go under 5 minutes to go for the race 13, which was abandoned. Will we have enough wind to get it going? The most important thing is getting off that line, getting the start, and we'll see if Jimmy Spithill can once again play the hook.
As the boats enter the starting box, they begin the dance, which in many cases determines the outcome of the race. Skippers will use their instincts and the opponent if possible. The primary tactic is for the boat coming from behind, or the blue boat, to do what's called a hook. If the boat ahead or the yellow boat is early to the line or too far up the line towards the wind, the boat behind times a last-minute attack and tucks in close to leeward or downwind of the boat ahead. The attacking boat hooks the defensive boat and holds him into the wind until the defensive boat slows to a stop, all the while planning a quick getaway and a large lead at Mark 1. Knowing the game means understanding the rules, an integral part of sailboat racing at any level.
So the wind is picking up. In fact, it is holding at 11.5 knots and building, so we'll have a little more pace on the course today. Now, the big question is, we approach 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and Emirates Team New Zealand getting port entry. Do you play it differently this time if you're Dean Barker?
I don't know if you do. You just have to get across it. Nothing's really changed in the starting line, in the starting box. You got to get across and line yourself up, but it's so much harder to do time and distance, Todd, when it's this light. The acceleration, if you have a tiny puff, you could take off in a shot. If it's a lull, you could be really slow to accelerate. That's the hardest thing for these sailors to try to figure out.
1 minute. It's actually ebbing a bit here for the entry. Yeah, there's going to be plenty of pressure for the pre-start.
The problem Oracle Team USA has coming into the box is that once they bear off, they're going directly into the current, so it's going to actually be very hard to get the Emirates Team New Zealand.
See Winston McFarland still on the boat, so this is 2 races in a row for Winston, and Grant Dalton is still off the boat.
Full pace, full pace. 13, 14 from it.
New Zealand looks early.
Kiwis are in at 2:04. So here we go. It's race number 13, day number 10. Moments after the Kiwis on their way to winning the America's Cup, the race was abandoned. The time limit was exceeded.
Stand by jibe here, guys.
This is more of a traditional starting sequence that we've seen the whole series, not the super light air one we saw about an hour ago, but they both still have their code zeros furled up. They think it's going to be light enough for a non-foiling downwind leg. That's really the difference. If you can foil, no code zeros. If you can't foil, you throw them up there.
Right now, the wind is too strong to use those code zeros, Ken. I don't think we'll see them unless the wind goes down a little.
Here we go. Not killing much. He's probably under a bit then.
With this ebb current, this should traditionally be helping out the position that Team New Zealand is in. They like that left hand, lane. Just a huge moment for Oracle. Can they shake off this morning's beating that they took?
New Zealand did a very good job setting themselves up to be in a good position.
30, not a lot to kill to the boat.
Trim on, trim.
Are you killing 7 here? Yeah, not going to kill.
Oracle going for a hook. I don't think Dean Barker falls for this one. He'll bear away, hopefully fast enough. If he's too slow here, he could get an overlap and he could be in trouble.
Trim out, trim.
Barely stays calm. By barely getting going, he's going to have total control of this start, Todd.
Solid pressure here.
All clear, all clear.
So Jimmy Spinhill goes for a hook at the start of race number 13, can't get it, and he puts Dean Barker and the Kiwis in prime position.
Gutsy move by Dean Barker, letting him close the gap so tightly, yet keeping just clear ahead. That allowed him to pull the trigger and to have a dominant start.
So the race for the America's Cup is on. New Zealand needing just one more victory, and the cup is theirs. The Americans need to win out to retain.
Gutsy, Ken, I would say brilliant.
At mark number 1, Emirates Team New Zealand has the lead. Can they make it stick? The wind is picking up to 12 knots now, peaking at 15, and the Americans just 3 seconds behind.
No code zeros.
And Ken, in the last race, I don't even think we were even halfway to mark number 1 at this point.
Exactly. Easily up on their foils, so that pretty much eliminates the code zeros for now. They'll keep them in the air just in case they get a light spot and need to use the sails to get out of it.
Really good pressure down this side.
Oracle Team USA doing a very good job sailing low here. That's helping them.
Yeah, but it's right down into the bad air of Emirates Team New Zealand, Gary. I think it's usually a temporary gain. They sail down into that wing wash and they can't make it stick.
You're exactly right. Big ball, fan.
Nice game here, Dino.
Todd, we just don't really know which boat is better in this condition right now. You know, we talked earlier about Oracle making the huge improvements at the upper end, at the top end of the wind range. Is that going to be a big detriment to what they can do at the bottom end? How much should they change their boat overnight towards the lighter air configuration?
Well, we certainly learned the boats are pretty even going downwind. The big test is going to windward on leg 3.
This watch getting slow in the next low. Big gains. Very nice here.
Good discipline by Dean Barker, not looking back at the other boat. I like what I see.
And the lead starts to grow for Emirates Team New Zealand on the right-hand side of your screen, up to 160 meters over the Americans.
And watching it getting soft in this corner too, but nothing special. Yeah, probably that. Full of the boys. Yeah, good pressure. Let's keep it down. This next little transition.
Let's go back and look at the start one more time. This is where Dean Barker really earning his money right here as we take a look at it on virtual reality.
Well, the guys talked on Oracle about actually just going for the pin end, or the right-hand end, the starboard end, actually. And they decided at the last second to bail out, probably too late. They went for this hook move too late. Barker just fends it off, keeps him in tight, doesn't get too close to the line, wins the start. Really well done by the Kiwis. Look at that, no overlap. If there was an overlap here, Todd, the whole thing changes and Oracle's ahead by a mile. But that 8 or 10 feet between the boats right there is all the difference need to be made by the Kiwis to actually dominate that start.
Virtual reality brought to you by Virtual Eye as the Americans trying to close the gap on Emirates Team New Zealand. The Kiwis just one win away from claiming the America's Cup and taking it away from Oracle Team USA.
It's all about staying in the pressure right now. This is where tacticians make their money. Ben Ainsley and Ray Davies, this is a battle amongst wits right now.
Yeah, all the way. 30 seconds to a dive. Got to stand by here, boys.
Get the speed on.
All the way, Jimmy. Good pressure here. 20 seconds.
Stay with us.
Good gain still.
How about the Americans? They were down by 150 meters, and here they are now leading by 15.
I think what you're seeing is again, kind of like we've seen this whole series, at least so far in this race, two pretty even boats that when you get a puff or, you know, get a little breeze in your favor, you gain. It's that simple. And here's a big cross. They might have a piece of these guys.
Oracle has the right of way on starboard as it comes together.
Starboard! Starboard! Jesus, fuck's sake!
And I have a feeling we're going to have a protest.
Put it in the hands of the umpires. This is going to be very interesting.
Well, from my viewpoint, I didn't think it was a foul.
Boy, it was a bit of a Hollywood if it wasn't a foul by the Oracle guys. They sure tried to sell it. Let's see if they sold it properly.
Even still, they take the lead.
What do you think of the zero after the turn?
Talking about setting that
umpires taking a long time here, Gary. But you're right, Oracle has taken the lead no matter what.
After the turn. We'll do it after, Joe. Keep sailing fast. Go, Tommy, go really quick.
Good pressure this way.
Well, this could be a game changer depending on what the umpires decide.
Well, not really, because right now they would just make Team New Zealand get behind anyway. So in essence, by losing the lead here, they've actually done their penalty already. But I've never seen the umpires take, well, there it is.
There it is.
Wow, so the Hollywood works for Oracle. You know, Gary and I both thought there was distance in between the boats, but man, they sold it well.
Instantaneously, the penalty is completed, so you called it right. So the Americans take the lead, they sell it, and the officials say New Zealand found the Americans. So it's the Americans now in the lead by more than 100 meters. Here it is again.
45 seconds.
That little, What the umpires determined was if Oracle hadn't changed direction here, they would have had a collision. So listen, they have everything sorted out in that back room. Yeah.
It would have been close, Ken.
It would have been close. This will be debated for a long time, but nonetheless, Oracle took the lead, takes the pressure off the umpires here, to be honest, because Oracle was going to take the lead here no matter what.
Oracle almost lost a crew member who was crossing at this point, didn't see it coming. Jimmy Spittle takes evasive action. Back to a live
you want
shot.
to make it big, yeah. You want to make it look close.
Can New Zealand get down to this gate, or are they going to have to jibe one more time? Here's another incredibly tactical situation in light air on 72-foot foiling catamarans.
One quick thing, the breeze is better to the right side of the course. That will favor New Zealand if they are going to get around the gate.
Hang on, jibing. Right turn, right turn, right turn. Now we're going to jibe back.
Right in front. The Americans pull it off right in front of the Kiwis at gate number 2.
And the Kiwis decide to jibe back and go for the other gate. They're going to be really slow here trying to pull this maneuver off. Really slow.
Big game. Nice and smooth.
2 jibes in close succession, big mistake.
And they can't get down low enough to the mark. They're not going to be gaining speed very, very soon.
And nice and smooth, guys.
Current's going right to left in this picture.
Holy smokes, what a turn of events. The cross and then Jimmy Spithill right in front of Dean Barker and Ray Davies, and it brings them almost to a complete halt, and there's the lead, 100 meters.
The difference again was just meters. If Emirates Team New Zealand could have soaked a little bit lower and made that left gate, it would have been a dead even split. But the fact that they had to do that last minute maneuver really slowed them down, put them behind here, going up leg number 3.
Look at it.
Well, let's take a look at one more time on virtual eye, and here it was, the Americans on the left, the Kiwis on the right.
The mark on the lower left-hand side is the mark that Oracle's going to be going after, because the other boat's inside, so they get into the zone, that 3-boat length zone. They have control of that left-hand mark. Instead of following them in, the Kiwis decide to do a last-minute jibe back again and get super slow. So, hey, very well done by Oracle. They use the 3-boat length circle that we can't see on the left-hand side of our screen, the lower left-hand side. They do a nice, fast maneuver around. Team New Zealand gets really slow, and Oracle breaks out to a nice little lead.
We're looking at live pictures now as the Americans have the lead, 260 meters and growing. So the Kiwis were one leg away from claiming the America's Cup, and Mother Nature shut it down. The time limit was exceeded. The race was abandoned, and here we are in the rerunning of race 13, and now the Americans are clearly in control.
Yeah, 30 seconds from here, underneath that one. Yeah. Underneath the yacht line. Yeah. Keep it going here, guys. Nice work. Really good lefting. Hang on. Falling out of it a little.
So the Americans with the lead. Gary Jobson, are they on the right course right now? Do you like where they're sitting?
20 seconds.
I do. I like the right side of the course where Oracle Team USA is. There's a little bit more breeze over there right now. And hey, a special note, we have about 29 minutes left in the time limit. There's going to be no problem with the time limit in this race.
Here we go. Nice, Tommy.
They have learned how to tack this boat. It's, I guess the question that people all around the docks here in San Francisco keep asking, what took them so long? The Kiwis really were showing this off during the whole Louis Vuitton series. Why didn't Oracle pick up on that earlier? It might have cost them a couple races early on in this series.
It's been a nice game. Happy to tack under this one.
Back on board with Emirates Team New Zealand. They are sitting on 8 wins, needing only one more to claim the 34th America's Cup.
5, 3, 2,
Let's not forget, it has been a couple days since the Kiwis have won a race. Remember, go back to day number 9, race number 12. Only one race was contested that day. The Americans won it, and fresh off the abandonment of race 13, so momentum clearly on the side of Oracle Team USA, but heartbreaking for the Kiwis of what they did in the first race today, which was abandoned, is they made the turn at Mark 4, and they just ran out of time.
But they're climbing back into this again. You know, do not count them out. They have shown calm and being calm and collected in the toughest of spots. But this is a tough spot, knowing that they had the cup in their hands after the race about an hour and a half ago.
One leg away.
Standing by. 2, 1,
Okay, I think they're going back in this pressure. Let's just see what it does.
I reckon just get it down.
Yeah, big lefty here. So going straight for a second. Just get her on the foil, I reckon. A little fast.
On board with the Cup defenders, Oracle Team USA. They trail right now 8 wins to 2. They need to win out. The Kiwis looking for just one more victory to take the Cup back to Auckland.
Look out there in the middle of the bay right now. Oracle's in a big left-hand shift. The breeze has gone left for both of these boats. It's a tough time to be a tactician, especially in boats that don't maneuver very well. You have to commit to areas of the race course sometimes that you don't necessarily want to be, but then be patient. Will their patience be rewarded?
Let's go back and take a look at a replay on virtual eye, and here's how the Americans got this lead, Kenny, as they split the course. The Kiwis forced into a bad situation.
Little left-hand shift in the upper left-hand corner of the race course. Oracle does a nice job getting across, but it was really all set up by that bottom mark. That bottom mark is where Team New Zealand had to over-maneuver. They had to try to create a split, and sure enough, it cost them valuable distance and the upper hand of this race. But it's not over, Todd. We've seen that too many times.
You think back to just a week ago, and leg number 3 was certainly the downfall of Oracle Team USA. They just could not figure out how to make their tacks quicker, and it didn't matter what lead they had after the first 2 legs. The Kiwis would just track them down. Not the case anymore.
Are you sure it was just a week ago?
Keep it going here.
It was a month ago, wasn't it? But I mean, Kiwis are reeling them in here a little bit. You know, this is hard. This is hard conditions. Just light, spotty wind shifts.
The key for New Zealand right now is to keep it close so they have a chance at that leeward mark. By close, I would say 200 meters is the minimum that they need to be if they hope to have a chance of catching up.
Happy? Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
I believe, Todd, today this is the only time we've seen passes downwind in this whole series, maybe the whole event for that matter. And it's the lighter air. It's the ability to jive and jump the other guy really quickly and get on top of his breeze.
No foiling, just he continues.
Okay, you're going to get real shifty.
He may hit this side.
New Zealand's got to be careful here not to stay on this course. If they do, when they attack, they're going to be slammed. They need to attack right away.
Okay, happy to go first. I think we're set up here anyway, Dino. If he hits us, it's okay. We bounce back, yep.
Ray Davies talking there to Dean Barker, saying happy to sit up here. If he hits us, we're good to go. Translate.
I think it's not a great time to attack, though, if you're New Zealand. They're in a big left shift out here right now. If you do attack, you're really going to be out of sequence with the wind. Yeah, you see they hold, and they've both been wound up considerably to the left, and they have to kind of hold this out for a minute, or they'd really be putting themselves in a tough spot.
Which is a big mistake by New Zealand, because if they attacked right away, they would have been further to the left and would have gained.
Better pressure.
Dead faster.
Okay.
Possibility of
Yeah, I have to go quicker here.
Okay.
At some point we've got to think about laying.
Yeah.
These guys can change modes so dramatically. You saw New Zealand actually up on their foils for a minute. They're just trying to accelerate out from underneath the bad air, the disturbed air, the wing wash of Oracle Team USA. They can use their speed to do that.
Oracle's not far from the ley line, Kenny.
And it looks like they're just going to hold it out, Gary, and just do one maneuver in and hopefully just gain by lack of tacking.
Yeah, the big mistake by New Zealand was not tacking immediately when Oracle tacked on their breeze. They really lost an opportunity.
Good pressure inside you. Don't try and foil here. Let's just keep it. Take the height. Copy. And then we'll lay if we take the height. Copy. I can't believe I'm saying this, but high mode.
Still high mode, Carl. Still high mode here.
Yeah, nice guys.
Higher if we can.
Definitely run the right hand back gate.
Look at that. The left-hand shift is so dramatic that it looks like they're going to lay the mark.
Really good speed on you.
Boy, sometimes, Todd,
Nice and smooth, boys.
it's just your day. And this big wind shift right here is proof that today appears to be Oracle's day.
Won't be long with this left.
Probably, yeah. We'll just check now.
40 seconds.
Got 40 seconds.
Look for Oracle to jibe almost immediately after rounding and head straight down for the lure gate.
Exactly.
I think you can uncant now.
We'll get right hand out of it. Yeah. Should work nice. I don't reckon they'll lay. By the time they get here, it'll shift back.
Bottom of the screen, it's a little dark patch right there, Todd. That could be a right-hand shift. Oracle could get around in the nick of time, and Team New Zealand might actually get stuck in a right-hand shift out here as they approach.
At gate number 3, it's the Americans first to make the turn for home. They have stretched their lead out. This is well over 400 meters as the Kiwis now will try to track them down, knowing that the cut is so very close.
Keep working, boys. Nice job.
Okay, 40 seconds. No panic. Happy to continue.
I think sailors around the world are just shaking their heads at how quickly fortunes have changed in this event.
Happy, go.
Remember, Dean Barker had the lead at gate number 1 by 3 seconds. A fantastic job by Jimmy Spithill down at gate number 2 and put them in a hole, and now they are starting to make it stretch up to 46 seconds. The Kiwis are behind the Americans. So the Americans head off for mark number 4. Dean Barker and Emirates Team New Zealand try and track them down.
Okay, pressure will go down from here. He's jarred inside it, so no problem.
I'll tell you what a difference a race makes, Gary Jobson. 45 minutes ago, we were talking about New Zealand winning this thing, and then the time limit snuck in.
You know, we were just by Oracle Team USA. They came right by regardless here just moments ago, and that crew looked pretty darn happy. They've got the momentum, and that's going to carry forward in the next couple days.
Nice pressure from now. Nice pressure from now. Really good.
Wind running perfect right now, 14 knots, peaking at 16.2, and the Oracle Team USA outfit looks very good.
Yeah, I wouldn't count it out. Yeah, good call. Let's get ahead of
The lead is more than 600 meters. The second to last leg here on day number 10, race 13. And the Americans are in firm control with the Kiwis needing just one more win to take away the America's Cup. Jimmy Spithill and company are saying not so fast.
Big wind shift on this leg. Essentially, they've jibed, and they're actually both below the mark right now. They're both sailing well below the mark. They'll start reaching up to it. Really an impossible scenario for Emirates Team New Zealand at this stage. There's no passing lanes. If you're just heading straight at the other mark, it's flat out boat speed contest, and we've proven that both of these boats can reach pretty quick.
Two big mistakes by Emirates Team New Zealand. On that leg 3 going downwind, they allowed Oracle Team USA to get on their breeze. That slowed them down. The foul, another mistake. And then upwind, they had one chance to get to the left. They stayed in the bad wind at Oracle, and it's in this position now.
And Gary, in all your experience around the America's Cup, have you ever seen a team on the last leg of what would be the winning race and have it canceled because time limit, only to come back in the next race and absolutely just get worked on the water?
Well, the only race that's analogous to this in the America's Cup was race 7 in 1983. Dennis Conner leading at the 4th of 6 legs and ended up being passed on the 5th leg, and Australia 2 passed him and won the America's Cup.
I think we'll be fine. More pressure than last time.
Well, if this lead holds up for Oracle Team USA, they will now need just 6 wins to win and keep the America's Cup, and the Kiwis still just needed that one precious victory.
With these guys standing up, they're talking about every scenario that could possibly go wrong. And they have time because they're just reaching down the course. What if the breeze goes light? What if we need a code 0? What if we need this? That's really smart. They're going through every possible scenario and what their solution would actually be.
Beat to the finish, good call.
And they just said beat to the finish. This breeze has gone so far to the left that for the first time in this event, they may be hard on the wind going in towards America's Cup Park.
Well, anything that makes the course longer is good for New Zealand.
What about, like, if we dive and have to hoist it, do it to leeward, or? We're all soft up here, Jimmy.
Sure looks light, dead up ahead of them there.
We can nearly set it up on the other side. You know? It's probably after a minute, there's no way we'll hoist it on this job. Okay. Nah. Hey, go through. In 30 seconds. Nice mode here.
Creating every scenario in your mind, not just as an individual, but you have to do it as a team here, Todd, because if you're not on the same page with the rest of the people who are grinding these sails up and down, back and forth, foils, everything else, you're going to fail. So you need your help from your buddies, and that's what they're trying to do as a team right now. Code 0 going up on Team New Zealand.
So the Americans have the lead, and they can see Mark 4 in the distance. Can they round it cleanly and get the win? We'll find out. Wind actually dying down just a little bit as the Americans make their way towards mark number 4. 12 knots is what we're reading on a constant, peaking at 14.3.
The big thing will be if they come off the foils. That's when the zeros will come out if they come off the foils. Doesn't look like they're off the foils right there, Todd.
Stand by, lads. Well done, Joey. Okay, Jimmy. Happy. Go button, Tommy. Go forward, Simeon. Got a little head on Tommy. Okay. No problem on penetrator. Not enough. You got straight up, right, Tommy? 30 seconds. 20 seconds on the ball.
The Americans executing a beautiful jibe foil, still have the lead. Mark number 4 just at the bottom of your screen. They'll make a right-hand turn and head for home, and if all things hold together, the Americans will pick up another victory, and it'll take their needed wins down to 6, with the Kiwis still just needing that one win to take the cup away.
Trying to twist when you, camber when you can, right? No problem, guys.
2 beautiful jibes by Oracle Team USA. They've come so far with their maneuvering and their boat handling. Very, very well done as they come into that last gate.
Let's keep it high out of this. Yeah, I mean, Tommy's right. We want to just hot out of this car. Yeah, trim. Attack the high side.
Mark number 4, the Americans first to it, and now they head for home.
Get pressure, let's get pressure all the way in. Hands up. Don't think we'll have an issue. 25, 20 seconds.
So the lead for the Americans is growing to in excess of 30 seconds, and now they are close to getting to the finish and getting the win. And for Emirates Team New Zealand, Kenny, this has got to be a day of what could have been. They were in this exact same position right about here when the race came to termination point earlier today. It was waved off. They were clearly over 1,000 meters ahead of the Americans, and just not enough time.
I think we're too close to the sailors in this case. We feel their frustration, and we're thinking, oh, they just want it to end. But I know for a fact, talking to my friends back at home in Newport tomorrow, every bar full in Newport is full right now of people hoping this thing keeps going for a long, long time, because this is exciting stuff. And really, this is sailing like sailing has never seen before.
The scene is exactly the same in Annapolis, Maryland.
So around the USA, let the celebration begin. The America's Cup will continue on for at least one more day. Oracle Team USA have come through with a victory in race number 13.
Todd's just an astounding day. A remarkable day. It's speechless. These guys have 9 lives. No wonder they're sailing a cat.
Stress levels. Tough one. Nice one. Nice one, that guy.
And the final delta continues to grow. Congratulations all the way around. The Americans were one leg away from losing this. And Kenny, if we do a little quick math, you're probably talking about in that first race we saw today, what, the Kiwis needed maybe another 4 minutes?
I'd say 4 minutes at the very most.
So 4 minutes away from losing the America's Cup. The race is terminated because of the time limit of 40 minutes. They reset. The Kiwis get the better start as race 13 was started again, but it was the Americans that took it over, and at gate number 2, they make it stretch on leg 3, and they're able to extend this regatta for yet another day. We will see a day 11.
We're gonna find a lot out about Kiwi resolve at this stage. We've talked about pressure, we've talked about momentum change, but this is like nothing we've ever seen, nothing I've ever seen in the sport of sailing.
So the Kiwis come across the line 1 minute and 24 seconds behind Oracle, but the damage has been done. First by Mother Nature, and then by Jimmy Spithill. And Dean Barker can only think what could have been as day 10 comes to a conclusion in San Francisco. Let's go back and look at this one more time at the start. Jimmy Spithill being aggressive like we knew he would.
Went for a late hook and it didn't work. Perfectly fended off by Dean Barker at this stage. He turns it into about a 5-second lead off the starting line. You would think that Oracle would have gone at him a little bit earlier and possibly gotten in there or pushed them closer to the line. They waited a bit too long. Just perfectly fended off by Emirates Team New Zealand. Coming at you, just a couple hulls flying through the air, but you could just see that the overlap was not created. The overlap is not created by that sprit, only the bows, and sure enough, off they go. Nice little lead, Emirates Team New Zealand.
Well, the Kiwis had the lead at mark number 1 by 3 seconds. And as we look at the second leg, this was a great race, very close, and here's the cross.
Well, it got back close to this stage. I think it was actually determined a little earlier. Oracle jibed first off of the shore side, and then came at them at starboard tack. I think it was a little, what we call a Hollywood, a little bit of acting there, but you know what, it worked. They actually got the penalty in Emirates Team New Zealand, but it didn't matter because they actually took the lead during this maneuver as well. Well done, one way or the other, by Oracle.
Mark number 2, once again, Spithill up to his old tricks, absolutely blocking the path of Dean Barker, forcing them into an extra maneuver.
Well, he had to jibe for this mark that's on the lower left side of our screen anyway. He got into that 3 boat length zone first. All of a sudden, Dean Barker decides, well, let's not follow him in. Let's shift back the other way. They just got slow, and it didn't happen for him. Here's really where the race ended for Emirates Team New Zealand. Oracle's speeding away. Team New Zealand gets stuck trying to get around that mark.
On the third leg, which is normally the kryptonite to Team USA, this is when they really started to stretch the lead out.
Yeah, well, they reeled it in a little bit halfway up, but then just a big left-hand shift comes. The breeze on the whole course was different today, and sure enough, Oracle could extend on that port tack all the way up to the gate. Never got close after this, Todd.
And at the line, the fans that played hooky here on a Friday, happy they did so as the Americans were able to bring it across and extend this regatta for yet another day. So we will see a day 11 as the Americans, more than a minute ahead of the Kiwis, get the win officially in race 13. The crowds are big today. They will be even larger tomorrow, Saturday, here in San Francisco as the September showdown continues. We now go on board the defenders, Oracle Team USA, and their helmsman, Jimmy Spithill. Jimmy, Ken Reed says you guys must have 9 lives. That was amazing. What a turn of events.
Yeah, what a fantastic race. It's really been a really tough day, and Benny and Tommy did a great job in that second race. Benny made a great call at the bottom gate, and that was the end of the race there. Really good job there to coming in, and I thought a great bounce back from the guys too. You know, we learned a lot in the first race and applied it to the second race.
Jimmy, that first race, I mean, talk about a turn of events. You guys, you were trying to hold your smiles off at the end of that first race. I'm not sure you did such a good job, though. What a relief, huh?
Oh, man, I mean, look, what can you do? I mean, you just, you know, sometimes a couple of things go your way, and look, we've got to take it. You know, we're in the position, we've got to take those things. But what a fantastic second race by the guys. Really stamped it strong.
Well, Jimmy, I know you got a lot of work to do. You boys can go out and celebrate this for a few moments, and then we will see you back here tomorrow for day 11.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Jimmy Spithill and his crew will head back to the dock, and they will see what they can do better tomorrow. But wow, they got a little help from everyone today. Mother Nature, the wind. They certainly had Lady Luck on their side. Meanwhile, Dean Barker and Emirates Team New Zealand look to be poised to take the cup. And Dean, you've been around sailing long enough to know that sometimes you just don't get the wind when you need it.
Well, yeah, very frustrating day, to be honest. You know, I think we sailed a pretty solid first race. You know, it's disappointing to you know, to be that close, but so far away. And you know, we know that we're sailing well enough. That one we just, you know, it just came down to a few metres right at the bottom, and unfortunately that was just the difference, you know. And yeah, very frustrating.
Dino, I think the whole sailing world is frustrated for you. That, just talk about a struggle of a day. Hard to come back. I mean, did you feel any sort of momentum swing after you guys didn't finish that first race amongst the crew, or it was just the way fate had it?
Oh, not at all. No, it's just, you know, it's just fate. Sometimes it's just not meant to be. And you know, the guys got straight back into it. We had a good start. We did a good job of the first half of the run, and then just gave them an opening. And yeah, a little bit frustrating, to be honest, that we yeah, didn't get around the bottom and front.
Dean, as you get back to dock, what'll be the message to the rest of the crew tonight?
Oh, look, the guys are very positive. You know, we know that we can win this thing. We just have to put it all together on the day. And you know, it's tough conditions. It's you know, it's about as tricky as the bay has been since we've been here anyway. And you know, you got sort of 50-degree shifts, you know, on one beat. It's not going to be straightforward. And you know, it was hard. They got a good little jump after the mistake that we made at the bottom. You know, we made a little inroad, but it was never going to be enough.
Dean, as always, we appreciate your time on a very frustrating day. We will see you back here on the water tomorrow.
Yeah, well, thanks, guys.
So Dean Barker, Emirates Team New Zealand, they will rally. They will be back here tomorrow. Day number 11. We will see races 14 and possibly race number 15. But as we take a look at the scoreboard, it looks like this. The Americans now needing just 6 victories, and the Kiwis still needing just that one precious win to take the America's Cup. For Gary Jobson and Ken Reed, I'm Todd Harris saying so long from now from San Francisco.